تو چلیے اب ہم ان دوسرے شاندار فن پاروں پر ایک نظر ڈالتے ہیں۔ یہاں ہمارے سامنے غلام محمد ہیں، ایک اور آرٹسٹ جنہوں نے بھی شاندار طریقے سے کتاب کا استعمال کیا ہے، لیکن اگر آپ اسے دھیان سے دیکھیں تو آپ دیکھیں گے کہ انہوں نے کتاب کے کچھ حصے کاٹ ڈالے ہیں۔ انہوں نے ایک بہت ہی روایتی اور اسلامی ٹیکنیک کا استعمال کیا ہے، جسے آپ ترک اور مغل آرٹسٹ کے کاموں میں بھی دیکھ سکتے ہیں، جہاں وہ اشیاء کو کاٹ کر نئے انداز میں پیش کرتے ہیں۔ اور پھر ہمارے پاس شاندار عطیہ جاوید ہے، جو کتابوں سے محبت کرتی ہیں، لیکن وہ انہیں کپڑے سے بناتی ہیں۔ اور آپ میں سے کچھ نے ان کا کام کچھ ماہ پہلے وائٹ وال گیلری میں بھی دیکھا ہوگا۔ انہوں نے مجھے PDF بھیجی تھی اور میں ان کے کاموں سے بالکل دنگ رہ گئی تھی۔ لیکن یہاں کچھ ان کی اپنی کتابیں ہیں۔ وہ اپنے خاندان کی کہانیاں ان میں شامل کرتی ہیں اور ان پر ہاتھ سے سلائی کرتی ہیں، جو کہ واقعی شاندار ہے۔ اور یہ ہیں ہمارے باکمال آرٹسٹ مصور شبیر، جو یہاں کام کرتے ہیں۔ وہ بہترین پرنٹ میکر ہیں اور ساتھ ہی بہت خوبصورت ڈرائنگ کرتے ہیں اور ایچنگ بھی کرتے ہیں۔ تو میری خواہش ہے کہ وہ یہاں ہوتے تاکہ آپ کو یہ سمجھا پاتے، لیکن وہ اسے روشنی اور نقصان کی کتاب کہتے ہیں۔ جو کبھی کبھار وہ پرانی تصاویر کی فوٹوگرافی بھی کرتے ہیں، اور یہ بہت متاثر کن ہے، کیونکہ یہ ٹیکنیکس استعمال کرتے ہوئے وہ ڈرامائی پوائنٹ اور دیگر طریقے استعمال کرتے ہیں۔ یہ واقعی دیکھنے کے لائق ہے۔ یہ 2 کیسز، میں ان کیسز پر بہت فخر محسوس کرتی ہوں، کیونکہ یہ کتابوں کے حوالے سے کچھ مختلف دکھاتے ہیں۔ یہ ایک لکھاری اور آرٹسٹ کے درمیان کا رشتہ دکھاتا ہے۔ تو آپ سب کو یقیناً عظیم لکھاری مستنصر حسین تارڑ کے بارے میں علم ہوگا، اور دراصل اگر آپ میری بات غور سے سن لیں تو میں یہاں سے کچھ پڑھنا چاہتی ہوں۔ سمیر تارڑ کے پاس نہ صرف اپنے والد کے کاموں کا ذخیرہ ہے، بلکہ پینٹنگز کا بھی ایک مجموعہ ہے، اور جو ہم یہاں اس کیس میں دیکھ رہے ہیں۔ اور پھر یہ پینٹنگ اس کتاب کے کور پر استعمال کی گئی تھی۔ اور پھر ہمارے پاس یہ خوبصورت پینٹنگ ہے علی کاظم کی، جو اس کتاب کے کور کے لیے استعمال ہوئی تھی۔ تو میں بہت دلچسپی رکھتی ہوں کہ یہ رشتہ کیسے قائم ہوا۔ تو اگر آپ میرے ساتھ تھوڑی دیر صبر کریں تو میں آپ کو وہ کچھ پڑھ کے سناتی ہوں جو علی کاظم نے اس بارے میں کہا تھا۔ مستنصر حسین تارڑ نے اپنے پورے لکھنے کے کیریئر میں آرٹسٹ کے ساتھ تعاون کیا۔ وہ پاکستانی مصوروں کے دوست تھے، جیسے کہ سعد کین اور خالد اقبال اور بھی بہت سے۔ میری اپنی وابستگی ایک آئیکونک شخصیت جیسے کہ تارڑ صاحب ہیں، اور نہ صرف میری بلکہ میری نسل کے بہت سے پاکستانیوں کی بھی بچپن میں شروع ہوئی۔ وہ ہر صبح ایک مشہور ڈیلی شو پر نظر آتے تھے جو نیشنل ٹی وی چینل PTV پہ نشر ہوتا تھا۔ مجھے یاد ہے کہ میزبان کی حیثیت سے وہ آرٹسٹ کو مدعو کرتے تھے کہ وہ ایک بڑے بورڈ پر لائیو ڈرائنگ سکھائیں۔ ان سیشنز کو دیکھ کر جو اس وقت لائیو نشر ہوتے تھے، میرے اندر بچپن سے ہی ڈرائنگ میں دلچسپی پیدا ہو گئی تھی۔ بعد میں مجھے یہ پتا چلا کہ وہ ایک مشہور مصنف اور سفر نامہ نگار ہیں۔ ان کا لکھا اتنا دلچسپ تھا کہ ان کی زبردست تفصیلات سے متاثر ہو کر ان کے کسی ایک روٹ کا استعمال کرتے ہوئے شمالی علاقوں میں واقع مشہور فیری میڈوز تک پہنچا۔ اس طرح وہ غیر ارادی طور پر میری اپنے فنون کی جستجو کا حصہ بن گئے سالوں تک۔ ان کی شخصیت اور لفظوں کے ساتھ میری دلچسپی باغی ہونے کے بعد بھی برقرار رہی۔ میں ان سے ذاتی طور پر ملنے لگا، نہ کسی رسمی وجہ سے بلکہ صرف ان کی باتیں سننے کے لیے۔ ان کی کہانیاں سننا انتہائی دلچسپ تھا، جو ہمیشہ گہری اور زیادہ معنی خیز گفتگو میں بدل جاتی تھی۔ ان کی موجودگی میں بیٹھنا ایسا لگتا تھا جیسے آپ کسی صحرائے میں بیٹھے ہوں، جہاں مختلف علاقوں سے آنے والے مسافر جمع ہو کر کہانیاں سناتے اور خیالات کا تبادلہ کرتے ہوں۔ اور پھر پشاور کے قدیم قصہ خوانی بازار میں اس منظر کو محسوس کر سکتا ہوں۔ جب شب ہوتی ہے، لوگ جمع ہو کر ایسے مسافر کی کہانیاں سننے آتے جو سلک روڈ سے واپس آیا ہوتا، حیرت، حکمت اور دور دراز کی دنیاؤں کی خوشبو کے ساتھ۔ اپنے بغیر عنوان والی تخلیق میں میں نے تارر صاحب کی تفصیلات سے ایک بار پھر ترغیب لی. یعنی یہ واقعی حیرت انگیز ہے. تو میں نے 3 دن پہلے علی کاظم کو پیغام بھیجا تھا اور کہا تھا کہ آپ اس رشتے کے بارے میں کچھ کہہ سکتے ہیں، کیونکہ ہم بات کر رہے تھے. اور بالکل 2 گھنٹے بعد رات کے وقت جب انہوں نے یہ الفاظ بھیجے، واقعی بہت شاندار ہیں.
We all grew up.
You all grew up.
So we know him.
Because it was the first time we had morning TV.
Yes, Chacha ji.
We never had morning TV.
No.
And we used to get up for school, and he was the host of the 2 hours that
Oh
we
my
had
gosh.
of morning TV.
And
Because we used to just have the 1PTV, and it used to start at 4 in the afternoon.
Yes.
With a prayer and then
Yeah.
followed by a cartoon.
Yeah.
And that was the only cartoon that you got.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there was morning TV, and you had like another cartoon, and then you had these drawings. Yeah. And it was very exciting.
That's so lovely.
اور یہ بہت ہی دلچسپ تھا. یہ کمال ہے، یہ شاندار ہے. تو یہ بس ایک قسم کی قسمت تھی. آپ جانتے ہیں، جیسے یہ سب چیزیں خود بخود سامنے آ گئیں.
And then we're
اور
back
پھر
to
ہم واپس آتے ہیں کیسر عرفان کی طرف.
And so he's
تو
created.
انہوں نے یہ شاندار تخلیقات تخلیق کی ہیں جو کتابوں کی طرح ہیں، اور آپ ان کے بارے میں مزید ٹیکسٹ میں پڑھیں گے. میں نہیں چاہتی کہ آپ کا وقت زیادہ لوں،
Want to take up too much of your time, but they are
لیکن یہ اتنی قیمتی اشیاء ہیں. وہ لکڑی پر پینٹ کرتے ہیں،
on wood,
یا کبھی کبھار کپڑا بھی ہوتا ہے جو چپکا دیا جاتا ہے،
taped.
لیکن آپ بمشکل ہی اسے دیکھ پاتے ہیں.
You can see it, and they are
اور یہ اپنی مادی شکل میں بالکل لاجواب ہیں.
realities.
تو یہ ایک کتاب کی تبدیلی ہے.
Transformed. He's used graphite.
انہوں نے گرافائٹ استعمال کیا ہے. یہ ناقابل رسائی ہے.
Inaccessible.
تو آپ سمجھتے ہیں کہ آپ کو پتا ہے کہ یہ کیا ہے، لیکن حقیقت میں ایسا نہیں ہے.
But actually it isn't. Yeah. And then this is
اور پھر یہ سارا ممتاز ہیں جو بہت ہی پیاری ہیں. انہوں نے یادوں کا ایک باغ تخلیق کیا ہے
garden.
اور ان خوبصورت پرندوں اور پھولوں کے کٹ آؤٹ بنائے ہیں. یہ بالکل حیرت انگیز ہے.
These birds and flowers, just completely amazing. And then
اور پھر ایک اتفاق کی بات یہ تھی کہ آپ کے وائس چانسلر، پتہ چلا کہ وہ ہمیشہ اپنے ساتھ ایک اسکیچ بک رکھتے ہیں.
there is a sketchbook with him, and because he
اور
gets
چونکہ وہ اکثر ٹریفک میں پھنس جاتے ہیں تو وہ اپنی اسکیچ بک نکالتے ہیں اور اپنے جوتے اور پاؤں کی ڈرائنگ کرتے ہیں. اور یہی ہم یہاں دیکھ رہے ہیں.
this is what we have here.
اور میں نے سوچا کہ یہ دراصل بہت مناسب انداز میں بنایا گیا ہے.
Anyway, so that's the end of the tour now.
آپ کا بہت شکریہ. یقیناً آخر تک رکنے کا بہت شکریہ.
For staying to the end.
بس ایک قسم کی قسمت، آپ جانتے ہیں، جیسے یہ سب چیزیں خود بخود سامنے آ گئی. اور پھر ہم واپس آتے ہیں کیسے عرفان کی طرف. انہوں نے یہ شاندار تخلیقات تخلیق کی جو کتابوں کی طرف.
شیشے کی کیسنگ میں اگر کوئی چیز پڑی ہوئی ہے تو اس کو ہم جب شوٹ کرتے ہیں تو ہم ریفلیکشن کا بڑا پرابلم ہوتا ہے ہمارے لیے. لیکن یہ یہاں پہ جو ہمیں ایک پروڈکشن کا ایرر سمجھ میں آتا ہے نارملی، جس کو ہم اس طرح سے دیکھتے ہیں، اس نے یہاں پہ ایک ورک آف آرٹ کریٹ کر دی ہے. یہ کتاب گھر ہے اور اس کے اندر یہ کام جو لگا ہوا ہے کیسر عرفان صاحب کا ہے، اور جو اس کے اوپر ریفلیکشن آ رہی ہے شیشے کے اوپر وہ عمران قریشی صاحب کا اوپر وائلنٹ کاسمولوجی ہے. آپ دیکھ لیں جو خون کے چھینٹے ہیں، اور یہ آپ دیکھ رہے ہیں شیشے کے اوپر جو ریفلیکشن آ رہی ہے. کام اندر کچھ اور ہے جو کتابوں سے ریلیٹڈ ہے، کتاب گھر میں ہے، کتابوں کی ایولیوشن ہے، اور اوپر بھی جو ہے وہ ایک کتاب ہی ہے جو چاروں طرف عمران قریشی صاحب نے پھیلائی.
And one of the most brilliant ideas, amongst many, was that first of all, Imran Qureshi would make these works for this room. So these are site-specific. He made them, he created them. He told me the other day he made them in 3 days. And one of the most brilliant ideas, amongst many, was that first of all, Imran Qureshi would make these works for this room. So these are site-specific. He made them, he created them. He told me the other day he made them.
Which is about books, using the theme of books, which is specifically how could we do it in this room? And I think they've been wanting to do something with this room for a long time, to make it part of the sequence of the Zahura galleries. And when I first, once we decided that this was the room, then we started to make the exhibition. Because what has been going on here in this room, apart from all the amazing things going on everywhere else, has been that this room has been transformed. Painted, these I remember being here, and sometimes somebody would like raise their eyes to the series, it wasn't such a good experience. But for most people, it's coming into this first decision to not only open up the windows, but to put windows there. So this is sort of part security, but also let's do something with that. And so he invited to make these quills, and what you think of perhaps as braille is not, is these are the nuqtas of verses from Faye's Khalifah. And so that is what you'll see. So those of you who know. So that's about the room. So what is this exhibition? The exhibition is about books. It's about how it's something that comes in many traditions. I mean, of course, in this region, yesterday, I met the person who makes wasli paper for all of the students. And this was incredible anyway, so I feel very privileged to have met the Spring Master yesterday. So this is the thing in this culture, the cultures of Islamic art, is the place. I wanted to give a nod to that tradition when you think about books. So when you think about the artist book in this region, and I'm like South Asia, Middle East, whatever we're calling these regions now, so you have these kind of traditions coming from the cultures of Islam. But then you have what's interesting about the contemporary artist book is that you've got another tradition, kind of, as it were, joining onto it. And that is, there's a tradition which started in France, actually, in about 1900, is you have what's called the livre d'artiste. So this is the artist's book, or livre de peintre, the book of painters. So this is where you had a couple of extraordinary Ghar and Hamara and all these French poets, and then an artist would come and work sometimes with the contemporary art like Picasso, many others making books in that old tradition. So this is like first half of the 20th century. And then, thinking about the Western tradition, anybody who's interested in books will know books out of length. And you go into these galleries, there was one I saw recently, and you're just these books on the floor. You think they're just books, but they're really not. And there was one where he had it was like this apartment here, where he had these lead books with a sunflower on the bottom. So, absolutely. So there's all of that context. I became obsessed by books made by artists when I was working at the British Museum. So I was a curator at the British Museum for over 30 years and had the huge privilege of being responsible, involved with the collections.
Oh, yes.
Who is like he's thought of as the voice of the Palestinian people. And so many artists have made books using his works. Really, really extraordinary. There's another one who's called Ajaris, Ali Ahmed Said, who's Syrian-born Lebanese. And he also makes books with artists. So they work together. It's a collaboration. It's not a matter of these artists like taking verses and probably pioneers is Lebanese artist Tel Adnan. She was making these Leporello books using poetry and sometimes just drawing. So that's where I kind of came from to the love of these. Okay, would you like to do something? Do you remember we were talking about all the books? And I was like, and he said, would you like to do it? We have a time list. Let's see how we can. Would you like to do an exhibition of books? Of course, I'd like to do not hesitate if you would like to. And that's where you got to. So the first thing really is I wanted it, which is actually to involve a class. So, so what I love about the book is that an idea emerges and then suddenly it's happening. And so a class. So I'm going to ask some of the students to talk a bit. So what then happened? So I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. So what then happened was that this class started making books, and what you're seeing in this room is, I think, probably something that is quite unusual. Is where in this room, and also outside, everyone in this room is an artist and has produced something. And so we have in here the works of the students, mostly on the shelves, and then we have works of some very established artists as well. They're all together, and the thing that unites them all is MCA. Every single one of them studied here. Some of them are teaching here still, and some of them. And what I love is so before we start talking about the individual things, I wanted to say that we produced something at great speed, which is this, which you'll find actually miraculously. There is a QR code here. What we wanted to do was, we didn't want to put bios of artists, because you can find a bio. You know, you just go online and everybody's on Instagram. But we wanted to hear their voices. So we asked all the artists, both all the artists, to give us a statement. And I think I was just rereading these. There's something extraordinary about hearing and this is what you captured. Thank you so much to Zoe and Lisa. Everybody in this room who has produced some art. So before we go, I thought maybe we could talk, and then Kiran is there and Safa, because they worked directly with the artists. And then I'd like to hear something from you artists. And he might put you in his show. And then we can look at individual works. But I just want finally to say that as things evolve here so quickly, so you came into class one day and you said, we're going to make books. What did people say?
They didn't know at first what is an artist book, so we showed them Sir Imran Qureshi's artist book, Aisha Khalid's artist book, Fazal Rizvi's, some others, and then they got to know. And then Manisha sent us a PowerPoint presentation where she showed us her previous projects about artist books, and then we discussed a lot how to execute, what is the material, what is the idea, and we spent 5 weeks for this project, and it was really wonderful. For me, it was really an experience working with you and all these brilliant students.
Amazing. And so far, good.
To be very honest, the very first reaction was confusion, and because they said the second year they're just getting started with this artist journey. So for the idea of creation, for them is a drawing or a painting that we put on a wall. So for them, when we were told about artist books, they were like, okay, is it a diary? Is it a sketchbook? Is it a portfolio? Is it a biography? And that was the confusion, that was starting point. But when we started, I think the first thing that helped everybody was Imran Qureshi's artist book that we got to see in person. We were not allowed to touch it, but we got to see it in person. And that confusion was the starting point. It allowed them to...
Yeah, don't be shy.
Do you have to come with it?
Yeah, just like, because what you should know is Salwa made these that are on the wall there, at the back. There. We'll go look at them in a second. So when you heard this idea, what came into your mind that you wanted to do?
It was so funny because I thought we had to make artist books inspired by other people, like inspired by other artists, and this is the question that I asked her, and we just started laughing because I didn't see myself as like an artist as such, like a professional artist. And I love reading books, and I gain a lot of visual imagery from books, and I wanted that to showcase in the book that I was making. And the book that I chose was a short story by Ghar, which is called Wapsi, which means a return. And it deals with themes of existentialism and crisis and death and a lot of violence. And I wanted that text to also somehow be present in the book alongside my visuals, as like this inspiration. So that it was not just my artist book, it was also like a collaborative effort, which I really liked. So that was something that I was going for.
Yeah, that's lovely because
We were more of advisors. We were just sitting and going through with their own ideas, their own callings. And you would see that there's so many different materials that there's literally a book that glows in the dark.
Yes.
And then there's origami, there's sanitize, there's sort of printing, there are eggshells. There's so much happening because it was just their own calling. We did not interrupt, we did not give them any direction of any sort, we didn't ask them to do anything. There are topics like there's someone who's talking about Palestine, there's someone who's talking about religion, and there's also someone who's talking about something as simple as tea, as chai. So it also allowed them to understand how when you're creating work, it can be something as simple as tea and as huge as religion. So this is something that they learned very early on because of this project. That's something that they understand after, like when they reach the thesis, that's when they understand that their work could be anything. And that because of you, because of this project, they were able to understand that their work could be anything that they wanted to do.
And I was so blank and confused and seeing, it's everything, it's little pieces combined together, it's a book itself. The entire journey of making the book was very confusing, frustrating. I had so many breakdowns. Oh no, because one, I lost my work, and then I had to do it again. But then the realization, I'm having to do it again, and actually wanting to say something. That was the whole learning point. So it was really fun for me. I really liked it.
that's lovely. It's amazing. The one at the top, the wooden, yeah. So any I worked for 5 weeks and then I had to work. What about you again? Yeah, cool. So, yeah.
Like everyone, it was very confusing for me. At first I thought artist books were just like a compilation of your already done works. But then I came to the realization that it was an art form of itself. And yeah, your slides really helped us and like really guided us through the whole process. And then came the tougher part because we're not really trained. We're slowly training towards the whole choosing a topic for yourself, but we're still not really there. But then I wanted to do something that was actually enjoyable for me, and I felt like what would be the thing that I was thinking about the most in those days. And actually, those were the days that we were having a lot of flooding in like Pakistan all over, and it was actually so basically just the immediacy of the situation, and then just whatever I had at my house, which were like magazines. And I started to look because they were National Geographic magazines and basically I wanted to incorporate other
some while ago, actually began to understand this incredible tradition through a friend of mine called Hamara, who some of you know. So he had a gallery in London and Green Garden, and he used to exhibit some of these amazing works. And it was through him that I began to learn about this extraordinary thing that is here, which is about innovation through tradition. So it's not when you learn with your squirrel brushes or whatever, and you're using the Wesley paper made by the master. First of all, you're copying. You're mastering the practice first. That is really important. And then once you've mastered the practice, then you can innovate. Then you can take that thing that you learnt. And this is what is so powerful about the work of Hamad Gilani. And because these are evoking the gold leaf, they're evoking like grand Mughal miniatures, but they're about gesture. It's just the movement. There's something incredibly subtle about these works. The way you see how he's used the brush, it's like shadows created here. And then this is something you find in album pages. So if you look at Mughal albums, you find this kind of layering, sheets stuck on sheets, and then you have these figures here, and he doesn't give them any particular, the title doesn't help you. It's just an indication. They're called poor translations, so just to think about them. When we move round, then thinking about that tradition, the Mughal tradition, Ramzan Jaffrey has created this piece specially for this show. And he is extraordinary in his approach to the study of the miniature. So he again studied that tradition, but has innovated incredibly. So what he's done here is that he's actually combined the inside and the outside of a book. Because what you have is the spine here, and then you have a great master here who's drawing. So I'm sure you'll have seen Persian and Mughal miniatures in this kind of pose. And there he is as well. He's inserted himself into the picture, so you see this. And this work is called, and he writes it here, so this is the poetry of love, or dialogues of love. Now, everything else here are the works of the students, and the incredible imagination of these student artists. It's completely amazing. And when I arrived on whichever day it was, on Monday, I think we spent like 5 hours going through artist by artist. You all came, and you showed me 48. I saw 48 works with their owners, as it were, each one explaining to me what they had done. And I was truly blown away from having seen something that was, on the Zoom, and with Kiran sending me images to the work itself. Like who would have thought you could have used like knitting, to create this. And these really, really interesting works. And then this one. This is Ijlal. So, I mean, this is such an extraordinary idea that you have, so in the same way as Ramzan Jaffrey has turned the book inside out, as it were, so he has done the same. So essentially, we have the book covers, as it were, but we have words spilling out. So the words are not fixed to the page. The words are trying to escape. They're dropping off there deliberately. They've dropped off there, and they are then trying to run away. Where are they running to, these words? And then the joy of this with its monotypes here and the exquisite little drawings of Halima. And then this amazing work, this is Ahmed Hassan, who loves rubble. So he, I don't know where the rubble is, but maybe outside his house. And he found this bit of rubble and he polished it and then he started drawing on it. It's like a kind of mythical creature that he's drawn on it. And then we have Hamara down here. So where is Hamara? It's you, there you are. Hamara, tell us about your Hamara Name.
So basically, I took inspiration from the Baburnama.
Yeah.
And I thought that why not reinterpret it through a contemporary lens and tell my life incident through the Baburnama. So I made volume 1 and volume 2 of the Baburnama. And in the first volume, I've taken direct inspiration from the miniature paintings which were in the Baburnama. So over there you see the miniature border and everything that relates to the miniature paintings. And in the next box, it's basically the drawings inside the other box which is supposed to be open. Those are more about the vulnerabilities of myself. And because when I was researching on the Baburnama, I also came across that how Babur being a king also talked about his vulnerabilities. So I thought that why not include a polished side and a raw side to show that every person has vulnerabilities and a side that they want people to show. So it shows duality.
Lovely. That's so interesting. So I'm sorry we couldn't open all the pages, but so this is another kind of extraordinary product of the imagination. And then we go from here to the work of the amazing Aisha Khalid, who you all know, of course. And these, actually, if you look at them closely, you'll see the lines of pages. So the idea for her started with she wanted to write. She wanted to write like a diary or some kind of text. She started to, but it wasn't quite satisfactory. So she evokes that process by creating, so these look like the line of an exercise book. And then she drew these absolutely exquisite plants, shapes. You can see her work is so painstaking and extraordinary. And these two, of course, go together. So here we have, as it were, the binding of the book. But again, it's not just the binding. You know, it looks like a binding from the outside, but then in fact it's a painting in here. So that is such genius, quite extraordinary. And then we have the work of Sabah Hussain here, which I have to remember the name, Badi Majnoon, which means like a weeping woman. And so this is handmade paper that she uses, and so you get the evocation of this weeping willow, regatta, it's about memory, and it's so simple. And there's a kind of Zen aspect to this, of course, which is also why we have these, ceramic bronze. Now this work is Hussain, I forget his surname. Now, if you take this, somebody has to do it because I can never quite get it to work, but anyway, it works. Maybe somebody can get it to work because when you do it in such a, you do it in such a way, you can write on it.
Just write an etch a sketch.
Isn't that so extraordinary? So, you can write your name there. You can do anything you like with it, because it will fade. So, that's such an amazing idea.
It's almost like a palimpsest.
Isn't it? But it doesn't stick. That's the thing. As we go round, we see the work here of Kitab Dost, who has another work in this case here, and this is the most beautiful work. It is actually all connected to the conference of the birds. So you'll see in a second. You'll see in a second that there is a conference of the birds theme. You all know the Conference of the Birds, the story of our time. Hands up. Everybody gets amazing. Those of you who don't, it's amazing. It's an idea of a bird. The bird who gathers a lot of other birds and they go off to try and find the leader. And like the Seymour, and thousands of them gather together. And the book, it was written by Froda Dinata in the 12th century. And there's a lot of poetry in there, and the birds like questioning and so on. Anyway, they all gather together and they go off on this journey to find the Seymour, because like, they want a leader, they don't have a leader. And the person who leads them is the hooper. We're going to come back to it. No, this is Ali Kazim.
Ali Kazim.
This is Ali Kazim and Mahim. So Ali Kazim, I'm sure you're aware of his amazing stories, unbelievable. But that he also, Mahim, started to work in tapestry. And so this Hudhud, who of course is very important in the Quran. You know, the Hudhud is the person who goes and finds the Queen of Sheba. And so here, this is just hinting at the story, and we're going to come back to that in a moment. Oh, so the end of the story is very extraordinary, because they all go off, and like there are thousands who've been gathering together, and a lot of them die. And this is a subject that has been taken up by artists like all over the world, literally all over. So they all go off, and then they find themselves in this place. Come here, they find themselves in this place, and what do they find?
That the Seymour doesn't exist, and it's all within you.
It's all within you. So you've made this huge journey. It's such a deep philosophy. It's all within you.
They had it all
along. And they didn't need to make this huge journey, but they did. And hopefully they learned something. So that's there. And then these are more of these amazing books, which you can go up and have a look at them. Then we've got something actually wonderful here, which is that for the first time, two artists, same family, exhibiting for the first time. So this is Safiya Khan, and she is the daughter of Atif Muhammad Khan, who made the artist book. And so actually both very sweet about they're in the same shape, like the first time, so that's very nice. And she's done something extraordinary, which is a number of artists have done this. They've taken found books, probably from the American factory, and then she's put these colours onto these old texts in Urdu, falling apart, and created something incredibly delicate. And all of these, each one of these has a story. So please go and look at them. And then we have Fazal. So I'm going to go to the end there and then I'm going to come back. Fazal Rizvi, who is a really interesting artist. I think some of you do know him already. Yes. Yeah, your friend. He's become my friend. Is he your cousin as well?
A darling Fazal.
How about one? And he did it. So this is the other wonderful thing about it. So there are stories here, there are places. Yeah, you have to kind of read the text. And then here we have this Waqas Khan, and I'm sure you all know Waqas Khan as well. Another amazing artist starting in NCA. And so these are works that he's very recently completed, actually, very recently. And they are part of a series that he's been doing, which are to do with text. But what's extraordinary about his work is the minimalism of it, and that this is something you can just imagine, really. It's text, but this also becomes a one need to define it? Is this, it takes us to the question of, is this Pakistani art? What is Pakistani art? And in the way that one talks about, what is Arab art? Or what is French art? What are the, these labels, these definitions are incredibly unhelpful, actually, because it means that an artist feels that they need to be slotted somewhere. So it's actually very, very interesting, this whole question now, is when an artist creates something extraordinary and minimal and evocative, and you look at it and you just want to just go into it. Does this make it Pakistani art, or is this just a beautiful work of art that speaks to you? So I think these are all very interesting questions, but particularly when you come to study the art history of contemporary art of these regions, is because there isn't a huge amount of literature, actually, and so often people go to the Western hand rather than actually what is there here, and how does that fit with everything else we're learning about. So I do feel that there's this one is, he's pictured a retired army officer walking through the bazaar. And this is I love this work. And then another bit of serendipity was your Vice-Chancellor here. It turns out that he always carries a sketchbook with him. And because he gets stuck in traffic so much of the time, he has his sketchbook and he draws his shoes and his feet. And this is what we have here. And so I thought that made quite an echo, actually, there. And then this is Nisha, Nisha Hassan. And she's done a whole work around, it's a story by Angela Carter, a British writer. It's called, I had the brief notion that his heart, pressed flat as a flower, crimson and thin as tissue paper, lay in this phial. It was a very thin one. So this is like the heart.
I thought this was beautiful.
It's a beautiful.
The thought was really
very beautiful.
Very nuanced.
Very.
Beautiful.
And then we have here two teachers, and Kiran, you can talk about your book here. So you could turn the pages if you like.
One by one.
Yeah.
Actually, I think they are more than 40 pages, and when I was
such a good show.
Do you like it? Oh, thank you. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
And I also work with Western art history images and already made paintings. So, and I'm really inspired by the John Berger's notion that scenes come before words. And I always work with images. So I was thinking, what can I do with already printed images? And I think to go to Sunday markets, anarchies, book shops in the streets. So I found this book with a lot of smaller thumbnail images of all the art history images painted by old masters. Then I got the idea why don't I here and then make another book out of it. But the descriptive text is hidden under a painted tape over it, because I think visual can speak more, visual has 1,000 words, visual can relate more, it has many layers, meanings, so it can speak also to a layman. So here I am giving more importance to the visual and hiding the text, descriptive text of the painting, because visual, I think, can speak a lot instead the text. Text is, I think, limited, but the visual is like unlimited meanings, have unlimited meanings and layers in it. So here is my artist book with a lot of images with different time period artists, but then there is no text. It's hidden under this painted tape. So this is my whole idea of making an artist book out of already printed images.
It's lovely.
Yeah, I painted the tape over this text.
I thought it was an actual tape.
Yeah, there's a lot of thought in the placing of the images and so on. It's really...
And this experience really changed my thinking about the book because all these books are made out of different materials, and it was really a wonderful experience
Good.
to work with all these students, artists, and with Vinisha also for giving me this opportunity to make this book.
No, it's lovely. It's
I was
lovely.
really excited for
It's lovely. It's lovely. Well, it shows that this is the thing actually about artists who make books. I mean, because Kiran, of course, I'm sure you all know her work, and it's more large scale and so on. But actually, to work in a book it's a very different experience. I think there's an intimacy about it. And then this is another teacher, Rabia Jalil, and so this is called disclaimer. No plant was damaged in the process of just a few egos shattered. This is so sweet, this actually. And she made it canvas, fireboard, sand, and metal. Very interesting. Yeah. And then you'll need to go back to them, but sorry, I spoke briefly about your sabah, but maybe afterwards you can tell the story. So then Hamara Abbas, these absolutely exquisite drawings, 2 of which she made for this show as well. And they are part of a series that she calls Helper. And so, Helper. Okay. So these are all about, people, laborers, people in disadvantaged society, part of the disadvantaged, like the people who do the stuff. And so she's been doing this series, hasn't she, for a long time. And then the last 2 are just these. So this is Mahina, who actually we worked with, who was part of our team here. And she created this book called The Tree of Life. So it's all amazing, embossed here with the threads. And then this is Sahir Sayed with, again, this whole notion of taking a found book, going to the Anarkali Bazaar, but in this case, it was her mother's book, actually. It was her mother's embroidery manual. It's a wonderful book, actually, published in the 80s, I think. And so she's pricked the pages here. She's turned this into something completely extraordinary with you're not really supposed to do that, actually. So I'd rather you didn't do that. I know this is very tricky with this show, actually, but anyway, and then, I know you want to, but you can't. But it was like one of these decisions that was a difficult
bit. At one time in Anarkali and all these bazaars, you got fantastic books with handmade paper.
Yeah.
The kathas from Hindus and all of
that.
And I really hunted for them. But somehow they got wise.
Yeah.
And they're not available. And then they sell it to collectors at a massive price.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the end of the tour now. Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for staying to the end. And shall we just look at Rashid Runners then? The shape, to bring things together, to see maybe how you link things, especially in a group show. Group shows are often the most difficult to do, actually, those of you who've done that, because of that tension. You know, you need to be able to give artists their full space as well, you know. You can't have them crowding other artists. So that's, I mean, but that's also the beauty of this room, in fact, that we were able to do that. So let's just briefly now look at some of these other amazing works here. Don't forget to scan the QR code. Oh, it's a new one. Okay. Okay. So eventually, the ambition is that we turn this bit of paper here into, my dream is that we turn this into some kind of publication, maybe just an e-publication or something, so that we hear these voices, because this is quite unique, as I was saying at the beginning. So here we have Ghulam Muhammad, who has taken like, again, another artist who's taken a found book. But if you look at it closely, you can see that he's cut out. He's used this very traditional, actually Islamic technique, which is called decoupage, where you see it with Turkish artists, with Mughal artists as well, where they're cutting out there. That's what he's done here. And then we have the wonderful Atiya Javed, who loves books, but she makes them out of fabrics. And some of you may have seen her work at the White Wall Gallery some months ago, actually. She sent me the PDF, and I was totally blown away by these works. And so again, it's found books, but some of them are her own books of her own family stories, and she embroiders them, and it's just extraordinary, this work. And this is wonderful Musawwir Shabir, who works here as well. He's the most fantastic printmaker, and also draws most beautifully and does etching. So I wish he were here to explain it to you. But he calls this the Book of Light and Loss. So sometimes he's photographing, rephotographing like old images, and so they're very evocative, using these techniques, uses dry point and others. This is worth really, really looking at. Now, these two cases, I'm very proud of these cases, because this shows something very different in terms of the books. This is the interaction between a writer and an artist. So you all know, of course, the great Mustansir Tarar. And actually, I'm just going to, if you just bear with me, I want to actually read something from here. So the wonderful Sumer Tarar has a collection of course, his father's works, but also of paintings. And so what we have in this case here is a painting by Said Akhtar, sorry. And then, this painting was used for the cover of this book here. And then we have this beautiful painting by Ali Kazem, which was used for the cover of this book. So I was really interested in, well, how did this relationship come about? So if you have patience with me, I just want to read what Ali Kazem said about this. So he said, Mustansir Hussain Taraz collaborated with artists throughout his writing career. He was friends with legendary Pakistani painters Sadiq Khan, Said Akhtar, who we have here, and Khalid Iqbal, amongst many others. My own association with an iconic personality, such as Taraz Sahib, like many other Pakistanis of my generation, began when I was a child. He would appear every morning on a popular daily show telecast by the state-run television channel called PTV. I remember that as the host, he would invite artists to give live drawing lessons on a large board. Watching those sessions, which were telecast live at the time, sparked my interest in drawing at a very early age. Later, I discovered that he's a famous author and travel writer. His writing was so engaging that I was inspired by his vivid descriptions of Pakistan's picturesque north that I used the descriptions of one of his routes to guide me to the famous fairy meadows in the northern areas of Pakistan. In this way, he unwittingly became a part of my own journey, artistically and otherwise over the years. My fascination with his personality and words continued even as an adult. I began meeting him in person, not for any formal reason, but simply to listen. It was fascinating to hear his stories, which always unfolded into deeper, more meaningful conversations. Being in his presence felt like sitting in a sarai, where travelers from many lands would have converged to tell stories and exchange ideas, or the Qissa Kawani Bazaar of the oldest bazaar in Peshawar city. I can imagine the scene. As evening fell, people would have gathered around to hear the tales of a traveler like him returning from the Silk Road, full of wonder, wisdom, and the scent of distant worlds. In my untitled work, I return to Tarab Sahib's descriptions for inspiration yet again. In his book titled Mantiq al-Tair al-Jadid, so the new Mantiq al-Tair, so we're back to Mantiq al-Tair now, he mentions a mound, Tila, near the Salt Range, where a number of sadhus attain nirvana. And I've used a landscape motif and a cloud motif from my Ruins series to imagine the spiritual imagery in my own visual style. I mean, that is just so incredible. So I messaged, this like 3 days ago, I messaged Ali Kazem and said, could you say something about this relationship? Because we've been chatting. Literally 2 hours later, in the middle of the night, he sent these words, which are so incredible. I mean, really, really incredible.
Actually, a lot of us elder.
We all grew up.
You all grew up.
So we know
hymns than some
Because it was the first time we had morning TV.
Yes, Chacha ji.
We never had morning TV, and we used to get up for school, and he was the host of the 2 hours that we had of morning TV.
And there were these like 10 minutes or 15 minutes
For
of
the
this
drawings. Yes.
Amazing.
And it would happen so before going to school, everyone would watch it.
A story, a joke, a riddle.
And it was the most exciting thing in the world, this morning TV. It was just like a major part of our lives.
I love this.
Because we used to just have the 1P TV, and it used to start at 4 in the afternoon with a prayer and then followed by a cartoon. And that was the only cartoon that you got. And then all of a sudden there was morning TV, and you had like another cartoon, and then you had these drawings, and it was very exciting.
And it was all timed according to children's schedule. So you would watch it, and then you would go to school.
Amazing.
And then you had TV, then that transmission would end.
It would end.
Till 4 p.m. And we all knew him as Chacha ji, which is like a younger uncle, right?
Yeah. Chacha is the brother of your father.
Yeah. How lovely.
So I didn't even know his name was. He was just he was like a Mr. Rogers to us. Yeah.
That's so lovely. This is amazing, amazing, amazing. So it was just a kind of serendipity, these things just emerged. And then we're back to Kaisar Irfan there. And so he's created these extraordinary works which are book-like. And you'll find more in the text. I don't want to take up too much of your time. But they are such precious objects. He does them on wood. He paints on the wood, or sometimes there's cloth which is taped but barely you can see it. And they are absolutely exquisite in their materiality. So this is a book transformed.
It's graphite is used.
He's used graphite, yeah. It's inaccessible. It's exactly. So you expect it to, you think you know what it is, but actually it isn't. Yeah. And then this is Sarah Mumtaz, which is so lovely. And she's created this kind of garden of memories and these beautiful cutouts of these birds and flowers, just completely amazing. And then this is a very touching thing, actually, because so I said everyone here is from NCA. This artist, who's called Golrokh, is actually one of the Iranian residents as part of this program here. And she, it turns out, as I discovered over breakfast, because we're all in the NCA hostel, makes books. And so she was like, well, I happen to have some. And I was like, okay, bring it along.
I was just wondering, I thought she'd gotten in touch with you.
No. It's a lot of this was like
serendipitous
things happening because of the magic of NCA, exactly. So and this is actually a story about Palestine. It's a story about Gaza. And what was amazing was that it turned out that Naba, is she here? No, I haven't seen her at all. Naba, oh my goodness. So tell us about this, because this is also a story of Palestine. It's a story of Gaza. Please, 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 because I've been telling people they can't touch.
Can you speak a little? It's the personal diary of the person living under displacement and war. So I listed images of everyday objects that depict different aspects of their daily struggle. So like, for example, the key depicts how the leader's home with the hope that one day will be. And this is very creative child on the way. And he compares the nest to the things he creates with track, protecting living things. And the floor is symbolic of the future because it says out of everything will be given. And I created other images as well. For example, how to go such long distances just to get water. This is like the fine and painting which includes all different aspects.
The shoe, the nest, the key.
Thank you so much. And it was so amazing, Naba, because you showed it to me. I was very moved when you showed it to me. And then somehow Golrokh emerged with this.
And I was like, where's that book? Where did I put it? And so I thought actually it was perfect together here. So thank you for making this work. Thank you. It's very powerful work. It's so simple, as in really, bravo. So this is a very interesting case here. So you all know Suleiman Khalija. Amazing. I saw him actually in London at the Royal Academy last year when he had a residency there. And again, this is thanks to a loan from Sumer Tara, who lent us this. And this is completely extraordinary because as part of his practice, he takes found books from the Anarkali Bazaar and then paints on them.
تو چلیے اب ہم ان دوسرے شاندار فنپاروں پر ایک نظر ڈالتے ہیں. یہاں ہمارے سامنے غلام محمد ہیں، ایک اور آرٹسٹ جنہوں نے بھی شاندار طریقے سے کتاب کا استعمال کیا ہے. لیکن اگر آپ اسے دھیان سے دیکھیں تو آپ دیکھیں گے کہ انہوں نے کتاب کے کچھ حصے کاٹ ڈالے ہیں. انہوں نے ایک بہت ہی روایتی اور اسلامی ٹیکنیک کا استعمال کیا ہے جسے آپ ترک اور مغل آرٹسٹ کے کاموں میں بھی دیکھ سکتے ہیں، جہاں وہ اشیاء کو کاٹ کر نئے انداز میں پیش کرتے ہیں. اور پھر ہمارے پاس شاندار عطیہ جاوید ہے جو کتابوں سے محبت کرتی ہیں لیکن وہ انہیں کپڑے سے بناتی ہیں. اور آپ میں سے کچھ نے ان کا کام کچھ ماہ پہلے وائٹ وال گیلری میں بھی دیکھا ہوگا. انہوں نے مجھے PDF بھیجی تھی اور میں ان کے کاموں سے بالکل دنگ رہ گئی تھی. لیکن یہاں کچھ ان کی اپنی کتابیں ہیں. وہ اپنے خاندان کی کہانیاں ان میں شامل کرتی ہیں اور ان پر ہاتھ سے سلائی کرتی ہیں جو کہ واقعی شاندار ہے. اور یہ ہیں ہمارے باکمال آرٹسٹ مصور شبیر جو یہاں کام کرتے ہیں. وہ بہترین پرنٹ میکر ہیں اور ساتھ ہی بہت خوبصورت ڈرائنگ کرتے ہیں اور ایچنگ بھی کرتے ہیں. تو میری خواہش ہے کہ وہ یہاں ہوتے تاکہ آپ کو یہ سمجھا پاتے، لیکن وہ اسے روشنی اور نقصان کی کتاب کہتے ہیں کیونکہ یہ ٹیکنیکس استعمال کرتے ہوئے وہ ڈرامائی پوائنٹ اور دیگر طریقے استعمال کرتے ہیں. یہ واقعی دیکھنے کے لائق ہے. یہ 2 کیسز، میں ان کیسز پر بہت فخر محسوس کرتی ہوں کیونکہ یہ کتابوں کے حوالے سے کچھ مختلف دکھاتے ہیں. یہ ایک لکھاری اور آرٹسٹ کے درمیان کا رشتہ دکھاتا ہے. تو آپ سب کو یقیناً عظیم لکھاری مستنصر حسین تارڑ کے بارے میں علم ہوگا. اور دراصل اگر آپ میری بات غور سے سن لیں تو میں یہاں سے کچھ پڑھنا چاہتی ہوں. سمیر تارڑ کے پاس نہ صرف اپنے والد کے کاموں کا ذخیرہ ہے بلکہ پینٹنگز کا بھی ایک مجموعہ ہے. اور جو ہم یہاں اس کیس میں دیکھ رہے ہیں، اور پھر یہ پینٹنگ اس کتاب کے کور پر استعمال کی گئی تھی. اور پھر ہمارے پاس یہ خوبصورت پینٹنگ ہے علی کاظم کی جو اس کتاب کے کور کے لیے استعمال ہوئی تھی. تو میں بہت دلچسپی رکھتی ہوں کہ یہ رشتہ کیسے قائم ہوا.
have patience with
तो अगर आप मेरे साथ थोड़ी देर सब्र करें तो मैं आपको वो कुछ पढ़ के सुनाती हूँ जो अली काजिम ने इस बारे में कहा था। मुस्तनसन हुसैन तारर ने अपने पूरे लिखने के करियर में आर्टिस्ट के साथ ताउन किया। वो पाकिस्तानी मुसव्वरों के दोस्त थे, जैसे कि साद कैन और खालिद इकबाल और भी बहुत से। मेरी अपनी वाबस्तगी एक आइकॉनिक शख्सियत जैसे कि तारर साहब हैं, और ना सिर्फ मेरी, असल के बहुत से पाकिस्तानियों की भी बचपन में शुरू हुई। वो हर सुबह एक मशहूर डेली शो पर नजर आते थे जो नेशनल टीवी चैनल PTV पे नशर होता था। मुझे याद है कि मेज़बान की हैसियत से वो आर्टिस्ट को मदऊ करते थे कि वो एक बड़े बोर्ड पर लाइव ड्राइंग सिखाएं। इन सेशंस को देखकर जो उस वक्त लाइव नशर होते थे, मेरे अंदर बचपन से ही ड्राइंग में दिलचस्पी पैदा हो गई थी। बाद में मुझे ये पता चला कि वो एक मशहूर मुसन्निफ और सफ़रनामा निगार हैं। इनका लिखा इतना दिलचस्प था कि उनकी ज़बरदस्त तफसीलात से मुतासिर होकर उनके किसी एक रूट का इस्तेमाल करते हुए शुमाली इलाकों में वाक़या मशहूर फेरी मेडोज़ तक पहुँचा। इस तरह वो गैर इरादी तौर पर मेरी अपने फ़नून की जुस्तजू का हिस्सा बन गए सालों तक। उनकी शख्सियत और लफ्ज़ों के साथ मेरी दिलचस्पी बागी होने के बाद भी बरकरार रही। मैं उनसे ज़ाती तौर पर मिलने लगा, न किसी रस्मी वजह से, बल्कि सिर्फ उनकी बातें सुनने के लिए। उनकी कहानियाँ सुनना इंतहाई दिलचस्प था, जो हमेशा गहरी और ज़्यादा मायने खेज़ गुफ्तगू में बदल जाती थी। उनकी मौजूदगी में बैठना ऐसा लगता था जैसे आप किसी सहराए में बैठे हों, जहाँ मुख्तलिफ इलाकों से आने वाले मुसाफिर जमा होकर कहानियाँ सुनाते और ख्यालात का तबादला करते हों। और फिर पेशावर के कदीम किस्सा ख्वानी बाजार में मैं इस मंजर को महसूस कर सकता हूँ। जब शब होती है, लोग जमा होकर ऐसे मुसाफिर की कहानियाँ सुनने आते जो सिल्क रोड से वापस आया होता, हैरत, हिकमत और दूर दराज की दुनियाओं की खुशबू के साथ। अपने बगैर उन्वान वाली तख्लीक में मैंने तारर साहब की तफसीलात से एक बार फिर तरगीब ली। यानी ये वाकई हैरत अंगेज है। तो मैंने 3 दिन पहले अली काजिम को पैगाम भेजा था और कहा था कि आप इस रिश्ते के बारे में कुछ कह सकते हैं, क्योंकि हम बात कर रहे थे। और बिल्कुल 2 घंटे बाद रात के वक्त जब उन्होंने ये अल्फाज भेजे, वाकई बहुत शानदार है।
Because it was the first time we had morning TV. We never had morning TV. And we used to get up for school, and he was the host of the 2 hours that we had of morning TV. Because we used to just have the 1P TV, and it used to start at 4 in the afternoon with a prayer and then followed by a cartoon. And that was the only cartoon that you got. And then all of a sudden there was morning TV, and you had like another cartoon, and then you had these drawings, and it was very exciting.
That's so lovely.
और ये बहुत ही दिलचस्प था, ये कमाल है, ये शानदार है। तो ये बस एक किस्म की किस्मत थी, आप जानते हैं, जैसे ये सब चीजें खुद ब खुद सामने आ गईं। और फिर हम वापस आते हैं कैसर इरफान की तरफ। तो उन्होंने ये शानदार तख्लीक की हैं जो किताबों की तरह हैं, और आप उनके बारे में मजीद टेक्स्ट में पढ़ेंगे। मैं नहीं चाहती कि आपका वक्त ज्यादा लूं, लेकिन ये इतनी कीमती अशिया हैं। वो लकड़ी पर पेंट करते हैं, या कभी कभार कपड़ा भी होता है जो चिपका दिया जाता है, लेकिन आप बमुश्किल ही इसे देख पाते हैं। और ये अपनी मादी शक्ल में बिल्कुल लाजवाब है। तो ये एक किताब की तब्दीली है। उन्होंने ग्राफाइट इस्तेमाल किया है, ये नाकाबिले रसाई है। तो आप समझते हैं कि आपको पता है कि ये क्या है, लेकिन हकीकत में ऐसा नहीं है। और फिर ये सारा मुमताज़ है जो बहुत ही प्यारी हैं। उन्होंने यादों का एक बाग तख्लीक किया है और इन खूबसूरत परिंदों और फूलों के कटआउट बनाए हैं। ये बिल्कुल हैरत अंगेज है। और फिर एक इत्तेफाक की बात ये थी कि आपके वॉइस चांसलर, पता चला कि वो हमेशा अपने साथ एक स्केच बुक रखते हैं, और चूँकि वो अक्सर ट्रैफिक में फंस जाते हैं तो वो अपनी स्केच बुक निकालते हैं और अपने जूते और पाँव की ड्राइंग करते हैं, और यही हम यहाँ देख रहे हैं। और मैंने सोचा कि ये दरअसल बहुत मुनासिब अंदाज में बनाया गया है।
Anyway, so that's the end of the tour. now.
آپ کا بہت شکریہ، یقیناً آخر تک رکنے کا بہت شکریہ.
For staying to the end.